Okay, so we are in chapter 44, which discusses the revelation of Torah as a preparation for Geulah. Now, in our previous session, we talked about the fact that the idea of Yerudas Hadaris is well known, and that one way of looking at the way Torah evolved from Matan Torah right through the ages is that as Bnei Yisrael needed more and more revelations, as in other words, as their levels were getting lower and lower, Yerudas Hadaris, they needed more and more of Torah to be revealed. So, for example, we had Chamisha Chumshei Torah from Moshe Rabbeinu, and then the rest was completely oral. But then when time came, when Bnei Yisrael started to be scattered, they needed the Mishnah written down, the first part of oral Torah. And then when that wasn't understood properly, they needed the Gemara to explain it. And then after that, we have the Halacha being written down very clearly, and then Shalos and Shuvas are written down, and then we have Chassidus. And so we looked at it in the sense of, we can say that, yes, as Bnei Yisrael were more and more scattered and the level was lower and lower, they needed to have more and more of the Torah revealed and explained more explicitly to them. However, tonight we're going to look at the flip side of that, which is the idea of Aliyas Hadaris Ba'adam Torah, the idea that it's not just that we are getting lower. In a way, we are actually getting higher. There's an elevation happening. And that's why there's more and more revelations of Torah going on today. So, Liba, would you like to begin, please?
אוקיי. עליית הדורות בעולם ובתורה. אמנם למרות כל הנ"ל, כלל גדול בתורה שנעוץ תחילתן בסופן דווקא, שלכן דווקא בדרגות הנמוכות של הסוף מתגלות הדרגות הנעלות של ההתחלה. Okay, so although we had the idea of the generations are going down, there is a big rule in the Torah that the beginning is
wedged,
thank you, in the end. And that's why Gada in the previous in the lower levels of the end, over there we see the higher levels of the beginning. They're being discovered there. וכך גם מצאנו בענייננו, שחלקי התורה המתגלים בדורות האחרונים, אינם רק תוצאה מהירידה שבגלות, אלא גם, והוא העיקר, מטרתם היא להאיר את חושך הגלות. So also in our Indian, we find that the part of Torah that are being discovered in the late generations, it's not only as a result of the going down of the Golos of the lower level, but the main thing of it is the purpose of it is to lighten the darkness of Golos. ולכן, אדרבה, ככל שהגלות הולכת ומתגברת, נמשך מלמעלה אור עליון יותר, בכדי לתת כוח מיוחד להתמודד עם החושך הכפול והמכופל. So that's why, as long as the goal is getting longer and stronger, so we're getting from above, we're getting a higher level of light to give us strength to I say it, להתמודד, that we can struggle with the darkness of the Golos. ולפי זה, נמצא שחלקי התורה שהתגלו בזמן מאוחר יותר, יש בהם בפנימיותם מעלה על חלקי התורה שהתגלו בזמן מוקדם יותר. So according to that, so we can see that the part of the Torah that were discovered in later time, in the pnimius, they have a advantage on the other parts of the Torah that were discovered in a previous time. לכן ישנה מעלה בדברי נביאים לגבי דברי תורה, ועל דרך זה ישנה מעלה בדברי סופרים לגבי דינים דאורייתא, ובמנהגי ישראל לגבי דברי סופרים. So that's why there is a certain advantage that in what the Nevi'im said more than the Torah itself. And the same way also with what the Chachamim said, according to the halachas of the Torah. And also the Minhagei Yisrael, they have also advantage to what the Chachamim told us. ואף שכנ"ל, בדברי תורה יש יותר חומרה וחיוב מאשר בדברי סופרים, ובדברי סופרים יש יותר חומרה וחיוב מאשר במנהגי ישראל, הרי אדרבה, זה גוף המורה על שורשם הנעלה יותר, ועל דרך המובהר בעניין תפילת ערבית רשות, שהיא רשות שלמעלה מחובה. כפי שהתבאר, עניין זה דקמן. So even though in the Torah there is a more stringent and it's more, the chiyuv is greater than what the Chachamim said, and the same what Chachamim said is it's more stringent and there is more chiyuv from Minhag Yisrael, but this itself shows that their root is higher, and like it's being explained about the Ma'ariv that it's not obligation, it's a reshut. How you say it, reshut? Voluntary, but in this thing of voluntary, there is something that is higher than being obligated, and I will explain it later. ובעומק יותר. ימות המשיח ותחיית המתים הם תכלית ושלמות בריאת העולם, בעולם הזה, שלכך נברא מתחילתו. ובפרט בנוגע לזמן הגלות, שאינה אלא ירידה לצורך עלייה הכי גדולה של ימות המשיח. So the days of Mashiach and Tchias Hametim, they are the completion and the purpose of creation. And that's why the world was created from the beginning. And especially when you talk about the Geulah, it's only going down in order to go up. And this is the up there is the times of Mashiach. ולכן כפי שנתבאר לאל, אף שבגלוי הדורות הולכים ויורדים, אך בפנימיות מדור לדור נעשים מוכנים יותר ויותר לביאת משיח צדקנו. So even though in what we see now with our eyes, the generations are going down, but in the pnimius, actually every generation is becoming more and more ready to the coming of Mashiach. בעניין זה מתבטא גם כן בתורה, שמדור לדור הולכים ומתקרבים לגילוי פנימיות התורה על ידי משיח, ולכן גם מדור לדור העניין של ביאת המשיח נמצא בתורה בצורה גלויה ומודגשת יותר ויותר. So it's the same idea we see also in the Torah, from that each generation that we're coming closer to Mashiach, we're discovering more the pnimis of the Torah. We're coming closer to the pnimis of Torah that Mashiach will teach us, and that's why every generation also we're seeing it more and more discovered and more stressed, the union of coming of Mashiach and the pnimis of the Torah. ובדרך כלל, הדברים הנ"ל אמורים להתגבי התגלות פנימיות התורה בדורות האחרונים. החל מהאריזל, שגילה וביאר תורת הקבלה, ואחר כך עוד יותר על ידי הבעל שם טוב, שגילה תורת החסידות הכללית, ואחר כך עוד יותר על ידי אדמו"ר הזקן, שגילה תורת חסידות חב"ד, ומוסיף והולך מדור לדור עד לדורנו זה. So we see it also about with the discovering of the Pnimis Torah in the last generations. It starts from the Arizal that he discovered and explained the Kabbalah, and afterwards
he revealed, not discovered, he revealed.
Thank you. And afterwards, even more so, through the Baal Shem Tov, they revealed the Teres Chassidus, the general Chassidus, and after even more so, through the Alter Rebbe, that he revealed the Chassidus Chabad. הוא מוסיף והולך מדור לדור, עד לדורנו זה. שכנ"ל, כל זה הוא גילוי עליון מלמעלה, שנותן כוח לישראל להחזיק מעמד גם ברגעי הגלות הכי קשים, ועוד בעיקר שגילוי זה הוא הכנה ועד לטעימה ממש מהתגלות פנימיות התורה על ידי משיח צדקנו. So every generation from the Alter Rebbe is being more and more revealed. And this is actually the revelation of it's a higher revelation that gives us strength to hold up in the last minutes of Geulah that are very hard. And the main thing is that this revelation is preparation and even tasting from the Pnimis Torah that Mashiach will teach us. אך כשנחפש בדברי רבותינו, נשיאנו, נמצא שתורת החסידות מגלה גם למפרע בנוגע לחלקי התורה שהתגלו בדורות שלפני זה, שגם בהם יש מעין אותו עניין. So if we will look in what Rabbeim taught in Chassidus, so we can see also backwards that also what they taught in their generations, also in their time there was also this עניין of Mashiach. ולכן, במבט לאחור, אפשר לראות כיצד כבר באותם חלקים בתורה מתחילים להתגלות העניינים העמוקים של תורת החסידות. ועל דרך זה אפשר לראות כיצד באותם חלקים בתורה, העניין של ביאת המשיח והגאולה השלמה מתגלה יותר ויותר, כהכנה והקדמה להתגלות תורת החסידות, שהיא בתורה מהווה הכנה ועד לטעימה ממש מתורתו של משיח כנ"ל, כפי שתדבר לכמל בעזרת השם. So we can see, when we look backwards, we can see that also those parts of Torah that were, they have also, but them also it's starting to reveal all those inyonim of Chassidus. And we can see also that in those parts, that also the inyan of Mashiach is being more and more revealed as a preparation and forward, I said, to the revelation of Chassidus. And the Chassidus itself is a preparation and tasting of the Torah of Mashiach. And like we'll explain it later.
Yeah. It's the Hachana Achrona. It's the final preparation. Yeah. And mama's the taste of Mashiach. Okay. This text.
Should I continue or someone else wants to read?
Sure.
Okay. מעלת דברי הנביאים על דברי תורה. לאל הובאו דברי אדמו"ר הזקן, שדברי הנביאים קשורים עם ירידת הדורות שלא היו בישראל עושים רצונו של מקום, והוצרכו הנביאים להוכיחם, שלכן הוא צריך להמשיך את אור התורה לדרגות נמוכות יותר. ובסגנונו של אדמו"ר הזקן שם, שעל ידי הנביאים הייתה המשכת התורה מעולם האצילות לעולמות בריאה, יצירה, עשייה. So we mentioned before what the Alter Rebbe said, that what the Nevi'im spoke, it has to do with the going down of the how say Yerida?
The decline, the generational decline.
Okay, that Am Yisrael didn't do what Hashem wanted, and that's why Hashem had to bring the Nevi'im that had to talk to them, teach them,
rebuke them. Rebuke them.
Okay, and that's why the Torah had to be, we had to take the Torah even to a lower level. And like the Alter Rebbe explained, that through the Nevi'im, the Torah went from Atzilus to the other three עולמות of בריאה, יצירה, עשייה. האדמו"ר הזקן שם ממשיך ומבאר, והכוח להמשכה זו, שיהיה אור אינסוף מתלבש בבריאה, יצירה, עשייה, על דרך הנ"ל כבאצילות, המשיכו הנביאים מבחינת העיגול והסובב כל עלמין, אשר שם כחשיכה כאורה שווין, השווה ומשווה קטן וגדול, שהוא דווקא יכול לשפל את עצמו למטה-מטה, גם בבריאה, יצירה, עשייה, כי כמה יתברך כולם שווים, כמו שכתוב, ומתחת זרועות עולם. So the Alter Rebbe explains over there, so what gives strength that the unlimited light of Hashem will be in also in the lower words, like it's in the same like in Atzilus. So this comes, and the Nevi'im brought it down from the Eagle and Sorav Kol Almin. They brought it from such a level that over there, the light and the darkness are the same. It's a level from Hashem that it's the same, the big and small, they're all the same. And only from that high level, Hashem can lower himself to Bria Tziyasiyah, because in front of him, everybody is equal. And like it said, also, מתחת זרועות עולם. ונמצא, שאף שבגלוי דברי הנביאים הם למטה מתורת משה, אך יש להם שורש עליון יותר. So we see that what Avim said, it's lower than the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu, but the root is higher than even than the Torah of Moshe Rabbeinu. וביאור זה מתאים לעניין האחד המבואר לאל, שבכדי להאיר את החושך, הירידה והגלות, זקוקים לאור עליון יותר. So this explanation is according to the first inyan that we said, that when we want to lighten the darkness of Golus, we need a higher light. ודברי הרבי, מצאנו שנביאים עניינם לגלות הפנימיות והכוונה בכל דבר, כמו שנאמר, גילה סודו אל עבדיו הנביאים. היינו שבתורת משה מדובר על המשמעות החיצונית של הדברים, ודווקא בדברי הנביאים מתגלית הכוונה הפנימית שבהם. So like the Rebbe, we see that the Rebbe said that the Nevi'im, their inyan is to reveal the pnimius and the purpose of everything, like it says that Hashem discovered his secret to the Nevi'im, means that in the Torah of Moshe, we speak about the outer meaning of things, and Dafka by the Nevi'im, we see the inner purpose, inner idea of what they say, of the thing that Moshe Rabbeinu said. שלפי זה אפשר להבין, הטעם לכך, שדברי הנביאים נתגלו בזמן מאוחר יותר מאשר תורת משה. כיוון שכך הוא הסדר בכל עניין, שבתחילה רואים את העניין החיצוני, ואחר כך ככל שמתקרבים לגאולה השלמה, התכלית הפנימית של כל הבריאה, מתגלית הכוונה הפנימית שבעניין. So it's also here we see the same idea that first we see that what Moshe Rabbeinu said, that this is the outer Inyan, and afterwards, as long we're coming closer and closer to the Geulah, then, which is the Ipnimis purpose of the creation, so then we come closer to the Mashiach, then we see also the inner purpose is also being revealed.
And it's interesting because we're saying here that this is Haseder B'chol Inyan. This is how it is really with everything in life, right? Anything that you learn, you first learn it like Bechitzanius. You first learn it Shitzchik. You learn it like in a sense superficially. You learn basically the pshat of what it is, and then you learn it again more and more deeply. So you think about even like when the Rebbe said when people first learn Tanya, you first learn Tanya, you're supposed to learn it pshat. You're supposed to learn as it is, as it as it reads, and only later do you then look deeper and deeper and find the hidden meaning behind it. The same thing with learning Chumash. When we talk about, when Rashi says Ben Chumash Lemikra, we learn Chumash the first time. You learn it pshat, api pshat, right? But of course, you can learn psukim over and over again. You find deeper and deeper and deeper meanings behind it. So in general, this is how things are. That you first see it b'chitzanius, you take it as it is, literally, and then once you understand that well, you can then look more and more deeply into whatever it is that you're learning or seeing. And that's how it is with everything. That's how it is with Torah. And then the Rebbe goes on and explains. Go ahead.
מבאר זה מבאר הרבי, בנוגע לתקנה להפטיר נביא בנביא מעניין הפרשה, שבגלוי תקנה זו באה בגלל גזירת המלכות שאסור לקרוא בתורה, ולכן תקראו לקרוא בנביאים בעניינים שמעין הפרשה. אך בפנימיות העניינים מובן שאי אפשר לומר שגוי יש לו שליטה על יהודי, שיוכל למנוע ממנו לימוד התורה, שהרי כל העולם כולו נברא אלא לשמשני, אין לגויים שום שליטה על בני ישראל, ואין להם אפשרות לגזור עליהם גזרות וכו'. אלא כל טעם הירידה לגלות היא בשביל העלייה, וכנ"ל שדווקא בדברי הנביאים שבהפטרה, באים בגלוי עניינים פנימיים שבפרשה עצמה נמצאים באליהם. So the same idea, the Rebbe explains why we have to the takon of reading the Haftarah in every parsha, because in the outer, what we know from the history that the goyim wouldn't let us read the Torah, and that's why they said, okay, let's read something in the Navi that has the same ideas. But when we look at the pnimius of the Inyan, so the Rebbe said we cannot say that a goy is ruling over a yid, and he can prevent from him to learn Torah, because the whole world was created that we should serve Hashem. So we cannot say that goyim has any ruling over the yidden, and they can make on them gzeiros. But the whole idea here is actually the idea of going down to Geulah is to come to a higher level, and that like we explained before, the dafka by the Nevi'im, by the Haftarah, we see revealed pnimis inyonim that even in the parsha they are in Helem, that they're not revealed. ובהתאם לזה, בתורתו של הרבי, ישנו עסק גדול מדברי הנביאים שבהפטרות, להראות כיצד ההפטרה בכלל וסיומה בפרט מגלה פנימיות הפרשה, ומהווה מעין הקדמה לגילוי פנימיות התורה בדורות האחרונים בתורת החסידות. And that's why the Rebbe speaks a lot about the Haftarahs, and to show how the Haftarah in general, and especially the end of the Haftarah, how they reveal the pnimus of the Parsha, and they are like a forward akdama to the revelation of pnimus Torah in the last generations through Chassidus, עד שכאילו אפשר לומר שההפטרה היא מעין ממוצע בין הפרשה שבתורת משה, ובין הפרשה החסידית שהתגלתה על ידי אדמו"ר הזקן בדרושים שבתורה אור וליקוטי תורה. So he said that we can say that the Haftarah is kind of an average that is connecting
Not an average. It's like the middleman. It's the
middle.
conduit.
What?
Yeah. It's like the conduit. It's the
the
something that goes
conduit
between two things. Yes.
the connecting the Torah and the Chiddush Torah that the Alter Rebbe said in his Torah or נקודת Torah. ודוגמה לדבר, פרשת נוח, המספרת על המבול, שבא למחות החוטאים שהשחיתו הארץ, שבפשטות זה עניין של עונש. And it brings an explanation from Parshas Noach that we have the story about the Mabul, and actually, for the Pshat, it seems that the Mabul came to kill the people who sinned. And like with Pshat, what we see, it looks like an punishment. אמנם, בנביא נקרא המבול בשם מי נוח, ואותה פרשה בנביא נקבעה להפטרת פרשת נוח. So in the Novi, he calls them Mabul, he calls them the water of Noach. And this parsha in the Novi, this is the Haftarah of פרשת נוח. ובצורה אור על הפרשה, אדמו"ר זקן מבאר שהתואר מי נוח מורה על נייחא דרוחה, כי המבול בא לא רק להעניש, אלא גם ובעיקר בכדי לטהר את הארץ, דוגמת מי מקווה המטהרים. So the Alter Rebbe says that מי נוח, it means it has to be with something that is to rest, or we can say, yeah? That would be the right word. That he explained that the Mabul didn't come only to punish, but mainly he came to make the whole world as a Torah, like mikvah that is to metahir people go into it. ונמצא שבחומש בא בגילוי רק חיצוניות העניין, ובנביא שבהפטרה נרמזת הפנימיות של העניין, שבא בביאור ובמפורש בפרשה החסידית שבתורה אור. So we see in the Chumash it's only the outer thing of punishment, and in the Novi he's given a hint of the premise of Inyan that it has to be with the Tahara, and like the Alter Rebbe explains it explicitly in the Torah. ומזה נלמד לגבי שאר פרשות התורה, שבפנימיות הפרשה מתגלית בהפטרה, כפי שיפורט יותר בפרק הבא בעזרת השם. So we understand for all the parashot of the Torah that the Haftarah is revealing us the pnimus of the Torah, and like we explain it in the next chapter. ובדרך זו אולי יש להוסיף ולחדד. So in continuation we can maybe add and make it even sharper the point. כתב הרמב"ם בהלכות מלך המשיח, המלך המשיח עתיד לעמוד, שהרי התורה העידה עליו. הוא מונה ג' מקומות בתורת משה, שיש בהם הבטחה על ביאת המשיח. הוא מסיים, אבל בדברי הנביאים הדבר צריך ראיה, שכל הספרים מלאים בדבר זה. So the Rambam said in Hilchos Mashiach that the Mashiach will stand up, and the Torah spoke about it, and it brings 3 places in the Torah that there is a promise about coming of Mashiach, and it's finishing. But when we speak about the Nevi'im, we don't have to bring any proof, because all the books of Nevi'im are full of עניין of Mashiach. ונמצא שעיקר הגילוי של ענייני הגאולה הוא בדברי הנביאים דווקא. ועל פי זה אולי יש לפרש הפסוק הנ"ל, גילה סודו אל עבדיו הנביאים, שהסוד העיקרי הוא המטרה הפנימית והתכלית של כל הבריאה, ימות המשיח והגאולה השלמה, שנמצאת בגלוי בדברי הנביאים. So we see that the main thing of the revelation of Geulah is dafka, is granted by what in the Nevi'im. And according to that, maybe we can explain the pasuk that Hashem reveals his secret to the Nevi'im, that the main secret, it's the main purpose of the creation. And this is coming of Mashiach and the Geulah Shlema. And this we see in a revealed way by the Nevi'im. זאת ועוד, כתב הרמב"ם באיגרת תחיית המתים שלו, שעניין תחיית המתים לא נזכר בתורה, ובדברי הנביאים הוא בא בצורה שאפשר לפרשה לכאן ולכאן, עד שבדברי דניאל הוא בא בצורה מפורשת, ורבים משני אדמת עפר יקיסו. So the Rambam speaks in his yes, Tchias HaMeisim, that actually in the Torah doesn't say explicitly the Indian of the Tchias HaMeisim. By the Nevi'im, it comes in a way that we can explain it, that it's a Tchias HaMeisim, maybe it's not, different parshanim, different explanations. But by Daniel, that is Ketuvim, so over there it said already in explicit way that a lot of the people who are sleeping, like dead, they will get up. ומובאר הטעם לזה, כיוון שתחיית המתים היא נס היוצא לגמרי מדרך הטבע, ובעת מתן תורה ישראל עוד לא היו מוכשרים לקבל כזה עניין גדול, ורק לאחרי ריבוי דורות שהתאמתה אצלם האמונה במציאות השם ובנבואה וכולי, אז בא דניאל וגילה את עניין התחייה. So the Rambam explains it, that because Tchias HaMeisim is a completely thing that doesn't have to do nothing with the nature of the world, and it's completely a ness. So at the times of the Matan Torah, the Am Yisrael was not ready to accept such an inyan. But only after so many generations that they already strong with their emunah in the reality of Hashem and by the prophet, yeah. Then comes Daniel, and then he discovered this inyan of Tchias HaMeisim.
And he revealed it.
ונמצא, כנ"ל, שישנו סדר של עליית הדורות מזמן משה ועד לסוף זמן הנבואה, שלכן מזמן לזמן מתגלים עניינים נעלים יותר, ועד שבדברי דניאל, שהם מכלל הכתובים שנכתבו ברוח הקודש, התגלו דברים שלא התגלו אפילו בספרי הנביאים שקדמו לזה. So we see that we always speak about the generation declining, going down. So now we made this point that actually the generations are going also up because it's closer to Mashiach. So from Moshe Rabbeinu till the end of the Nevuah, so there are more higher inyonim are being revealed. Till that in Daniel, that he is from Ketuvim, that they didn't have prophecy, just Ruach HaKodesh. So by him already the things revealed that even by Nevi'im, he doesn't speak about them. ואולי יש לומר שעניין זה מתאים לידוע בעניין בית תקופות בימות המשיח. תקופה האלף של גילוי משיח ופעולותיו, אך בכללות הרי זה עולם שכמנהגו נוהג, ותקופה הבית נעלית יותר, שבה יהיה תחיית המתים ובכלל שינוי מנהגו של עולם. So maybe we can explain it like we spoke beforehand about the two different times that will be by Mashiach. The first period that Mashiach will come and it will be revealed, but the world will be still conducting the same way without Nisim. And then there will be the second period, it will be a higher period that we're going to have Tchias HaMeisim, and there will be a lot of miracles, and the world will be already going the same way. ומבואר שכן הוא גם בספר הרמב"ם, שלאחר כל החיבור המסכם כל הדינים של תורת משה, מסיים בבית הפרקים האחרונים בתקופה האלף שבימות המשיח. והתקופה הזו שכותב כנ"ל, שבדברי הנביאים אין הדבר צריך ראיה, שכל הספרים מלאים בדבר זה. So the Rambam speaks about the first period. The first, and then
well, first of all, we find more. First of all, in the whole Rambam himself, right? And really, it's at the end. First, he gives us all the dinim of Moshe Rabbeinu, right? He summarizes. That's the Rambam. That's the whole Sefer Yad. And then only in the final chapters, he talks about the first tkufa of Yemais Mashiach. And there he says, and that's when he quotes that the words of the Nevi'im, we don't need proof because they're full of it. But then at the very, very end,
בסיום ספרו ממש, בהלכה האחרונה, הוא אומר את תקופה הבית של ימות המשיח, כאשר יהיה תחיית המתים וכולי. So only in the last halacha, he's hinting about the second period that then there will be Tchias HaMeisim.
And we talked about this before, that was a hint when he talks about that the whole world will know Hashem, kamam liyam achasim, as water covers the ocean bed. That means that you see nothing else other than knowing Hashem. That means it's not anymore just because nothing is being done other than that. And that's where we see the Rebbe explains the hint of Tchias HaMeisim to read the second kufa of what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. Okay, so then what do we see?
ועל פי זה אולי יש לומר שכן הוא גם בתנ"ך, שהנביאים דיברו בעיקר על הגילוי של ימות המשיח, ודווקא בכתובים של אחרי זה נתגלה העניין היותר נעלה של תחיית המתים ודוק. So that maybe you can say also the same idea that in the Nevi'im they spoke mainly about the revelation of Mashiach, and in the Ksuvim that it's after, that was revealed afterwards, then we see the Indian of Tchias HaMesim.
Right. So in the same way that we have those
miracles.
sections, like what the Rambam has, like Tanakh, so that's the Torah, the halachas, and then he talks about Nevi'im and then Tchias HaMesim. So 3 stages where there's more and more revelation as we get closer to Mashiach. And Rivki, would you like to take over?
Hi, sure. So it's actually, yeah, it's amazing if you think about it. Like, we're so used to it because that's what the Rebbe does every time. But like, just, everyone talks about Yerida Sedaris, and the Rebbe's like just turns it around. The generations are getting higher and higher. It's really beautiful, very positive.
But I think it's interesting though, because the Rebbe is saying that the revelation is getting higher and higher.
I remember also when
Right.
the Rebbe spoke in the last year that when women are getting more tzniusdik, yeah? So it's also a bit maybe this idea.
Right, get more prepared. Okay, so now we're going to see what's the mile of Divrei Seifrim al Divrei Torah. Because remember we said, so now we saw right there's Torah, and there was more revelation in the Nevi'im, then the Ksuvim there was even more, and now we came to Divrei Seifrim. So what's the advantage there?
Okay, so yeah, I hear what you're saying, that not the generations are getting higher, but the times are getting greater and greater. Okay.
You could say the generation away too. It says like, Moshe Rabbeinu was jealous of our generation because we have a koyach that earlier generations didn't have. But that koyach we have comes from that revelation of Torah that's higher than previous generations had.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could see, there's 2 edges to the sword, I suppose.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay. Malis Divrei Sefer Mal Divrei Torah. Oidness bar le'el shebegaloy Divrei Torah chamurim Divrei Seferim. Shelchein sveika daraisa lechumra v'sveika darabanan lekula. So we explained before that in the revealed Torah, that like in the
revealed manner,
the words of the Torah are stricter than the words of the Rabbanim. And that's why if you have a doubt about something that's daraisa, then we need to
take more harshly,
right. And if we have a doubt in a Rabbanan, then we are lenient. Of Amar Chazal, Arevim Alai Divrei Seifrim Yeser Mi Yena Shel Torah. But our Chachamim say that the words of the Rabbanim are sweeter than the wine of Torah. Umaymer Chazal Zeh Nasa Yisaid Gadol B'Torase Shel Admor Hazaken Shemavar Eisei Shuv V'Shuv B'Fanim Shainim. And this expression from Chazal becomes a great foundation for the Torah of the Alter Rebbe, where he explains this again and again in different ways. V'chad biurim bezeh. K'moj l'mashal adam mechames tzavasi al b'nai medaktek ima yeser l'haisef alav shmira me'ula b'saygim v'gedarim b'chalev sharim. So one of the ways that the Alter Rebbe explains this is a mashal of a father who loves his son so much, so that he's so careful with him, and he wants to protect him with as many fences and boundaries as possible. So yeah, this just came up on Shabbos actually. Like girls asking, what are all these laws? So many, things that were added on. So it's such a beautiful perspective that this is coming from Hashem's great love for his children, for the Yidden. Hashem is so careful with us, with every single detail, which the Rabbanim added. ולכן אף שבזמן שבית המקדש היה קיים היה סגי דרייסה, אף מפני שבזמן הגלס נסמטו הלבביס השלמוס בעבודת השם באהבה עזה קריש באש, ונכווינו באש זרה באהבס וטבס גופניס. לכן לא נוכל לעבוד השם באהבה בלתי שנסער מזה אהבה רבה על ידי דקדוקי ספרים. So even though in the time of the Beis Hamikdash we only had the mitzvahs d'oraisa from the Torah, but because in the time of the Gullahs the hearts of the Yidden have less complete love for Hashem, it's harder to feel this fiery love for Hashem, and there was introduced a strange fire of love and taivas for physical things. Therefore, the only way that we could serve Hashem with great love is through adding a greater love through the details. Details of the Rabbanim or the experts Rabbanim added. You want to explain better? Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Just like Hashem is feeling your love to make it easier for us to love him back. Is that what it's saying?
Yes, because at the time of the Beis Hamikdash, there was a natural tremendous love for Hashem, because also we had a Beis Hamikdash, we had revelations of godliness, so it's easy to love Hashem. But as we go into Geulah and we have all the other temptations, so in order to arouse our love, the way to do it is by being careful in all of these things that the Chachamim gave us as limitations and boundaries and ways to protect us, and to protect the words of Torah. By doing that, that's how we can arouse our love for him. Like when you want to be when you really like someone or love someone, you want to be very careful in doing exactly what they want.
So it's like, but we have less love naturally, but this helps
through the Dikdukei Seifrim. But through the Dikdukei Seifrim, that's how we can arouse this love in us.
ובמקום אחר, מבאר אדמו"ר הזקן בסגנון הקבלה, בנוגע לניסח היין על מזבח שמפרש בתורה שבכתב, בנוסח המים בחלק הסוכות שהוא הלכה למשה מסיני ולא נכתב בתורה שבכתב. In another place, Alter Rebbe explains in the language of Kabbalah that the pouring of the wine on the Mizbeach is explicitly written in the Torah, and the pouring of the water on Sukkot is not written in the written Torah. So it's from Moshe Rabbeinu, but it's not written. Ki yayin remez al bina, simcha shemitzad hasechel, umayim remez al chachma shelemayli me'asaga, because wine is a hint to understanding. So it's a joy that comes from reason that makes sense. And water is a hint to wisdom, which is above understanding. So chachma is above bina. Okay. V'zeu gam kein hachiluk bin Torah shebechsav b'chinas bina seichel v'Torah shebal peh b'chinas chachma shelemayla me'aseichel. And this is the difference between the written Torah, which is the level of bina, and the Torah shebal peh, which is the level of chachma, which is above understanding. So again, we find that the words of the Rabbanim have a higher source than the words of the Torah itself. So within the oral Torah itself, we have different levels. Mishnayos, then Brisa, then Gemara. Brisa shayeches yesel lizman hagolos u'lemakom hagolos beBavel. Va'od yesel legabi Talmud Bavli shenikra b'machshakim hashivayni. Shelechein haMishnah sheberetz Yisrael me'ula min haBrisa v'Gemara v'niskalal sha'ar haliki mer ba b'gilo yeser. So like we said, that even within the Torah Shebal Peh, there's different levels, and the Brisa is more connected to the time of Galus and to the place of Galus, which is Bavel, and how much more so the Talmud Bavli is called the, what is it? Like finding me in the dark? Exactly. What does that mean?
Yes.
Right? It's like full of questions and everything. So yeah. And that's why the Mishnah in Eretz Yisrael, the Mishnah, which was written in Eretz Yisrael, is higher than the Brisa and the Gemara. Because the godly light is revealed there more. Aval be'emesu kaisav Admar Zaken shabraisa gavaya yeser. But the truth is that the brisa is higher. The Alter Rebbe writes, just like Maisa Machshavat Tchila, because what happens in whatever comes later was thought of, originates earlier in Machshava and thought. Ki Hamishna hu klal kamay dalet tzitzis ma'akavais v'chein sukkah she gavaya chulu. Yesh lemtzai tam lezak in tcheles daima liyam chulu. V'gabi sukkah yesh tam leman yidu deresechem ad chaf amma chulu. So the Mishnah gives like the general,
Yeah.
general teaching. Like the tzitzis need to be, what is that?
You have to have four, and four tzitzis they hold back. Because if you don't have four, it can be makes the whole thing puzzle. We can't hear you. Yeah, now we can. Okay.
Okay, and the sukkah needs to be tall, and
A
we
certain
can
amount.
find what?
Yeah.
And we could find a reason for this, like the tcheles is similar to the sea, like in the tzitzis, and the sukkah. The reason is so that like future generations should see it. What does that mean?
Yeah, that's right, until 20 amma, because the whole thing that a sukkah that's higher than 20 amma is not considered puzzle, right? So you can find reasons for the klalim there in the Mishnah.
Why it has to be that way. Aval b'raisu prat levara Mishnah b'chol diktukim upratim. But the Brisa explains the Mishnah in every single detail. Kamay sukas ganbach v'rekbash. What does that mean? She'ein tal medavar. There's no explanation for all of these details. It's not.
So it does the opposite. The Brisa details everything and gives us all the details, all the very fine details of all of these things.
But without reasons, yeah? So from here we see that it's higher than logic and understanding. So the fact that when we don't know the reason, it shows that it's even higher reason, which will only be revealed in the future if Hashem will so desire. Bavli shenemar alav machshakim hayshiveni shezeu kol inyan hatayra shenislapsha b'tainis shel sheker v'chulu. And similarly, the Alter Rebbe explains the idea of the Talmud Bavli, which is like searching in the dark, which is the whole idea of Torah, that it's being enclosed in false arguments. V'lamahu kach kedei lefnei sa'era v'hachayshech the so why is it this way? In order to free ourselves of the darkness and create light, reveal light. So if we want to clean something up, we first have to go inside, but not to stay there. Hakushis hamaster al sichles hadin ha'emes lamitay v'lemtzaya emes gilui ratzin alav baruch. And therefore, the being involved in Torah is about pushing away the darkness and the questions that are covering up the true halacha, and to find what is the true desire of Hashem here. So it's not that the Talmud Bavli is chas v'shalom darkness in itself. It's just that it's enclothing itself in darkness in order to light it up. So it's like going down into the real dark places in order to light up even the darkest corners. Which is
why we find in Talmud Bavli, for example, is why there are so many more arguments and so many more shalpatayas and questions and more questions and more questions, which you don't find in Talmud Yerushalmi.
וסדה רמז לברייסה שהיא בחינת שדה לעומת המשנה שהוא העיר. So the Alter Rebbe explains here on the pasuk, and Yitzchak went out to talk to Hashem in the field in the evening. That this is, what is it?
Toward evening.
Before evening. That this is hinting to the learning of Brisa, which is like the word lesuach comes from the word sicha, like to speak about, which refers to the Brisa, which is the level of Sada, compared to the Mishnah, which is a field, compared to the Mishnah, which is like the city. So the field is considered like the lower place, and Yitzchak went out there, right? This is mincha time, to go out and to go out to the field, and talk there, okay? And the Talmud Bavli Shaydeza Daf, which is the Bryce. Sorry. So through Yitzchak going out to the field, to the lower place, he's able to make the evening like
Right. So the Alter Rebbe explained this puzzle in total. That it's talking about the Asik and Limud HaBraisa and Talmud Bavli. That Yitzchak really, what was he doing? He was being busy with learning of the Braisa and Talmud Bavli. And specifically in that way that we light up the darkness. And that's what that's the inner meaning of L'soch Based that L'fnait Erev. Okay.
לפי עיקרין זה מבאר הרבה, מה שמצינו שבמשנה נאמר what is that? מי שמייס Rabbi Batla Anava V'Yiras Chet. So according to this principle, the Rebbe explains what we find in the Mishnah, that from when Rabbi passed away, there is no more humility and no more fear of sin. La'achre ze b'Gemara nemer amar le Reb Yosef letana le titni anava de'echa ana. But after this, we see in the Gemara that Reb Yosef says to the Tana,
yeah, what?
No, that you could explain it.
He says, don't say Anava because there's me. In other words, don't say that there's no Anava because there's because I'm here.
Amar le Rav Nachman letana leititni yiraschet de'echa ana. So Rav, he's so humble. He says, right? Don't say humble. I'm here. I'm humble. Okay.
Yeah, and don't say there's no yiraschet because I'm here.
I'm here. I fear sin. Ki ara mishnu ara mugbal she'en b'keicha laharis tekef cheshach hagalas. V'chein k'shezgar b'cheshach hagalas hifsek hagilo yishaya al yidei Hatanaim. 1 second. Okay, so the light of the Mishnah was a limited light, which didn't have the power to light up the darkness of the Gullus, because it was too strong for it. And that's why when the darkness of the Gullus got stronger, the revelation of the Tanaim ended, because they wouldn't be able to deal with it. And that's why it says from when the Rabbi passed away, there's no more humility and fear of sin. What does that mean? But the Amiram, which came after the Tanaim, they drew down through their Avaida a greater light, which was able to come down and illuminate this darker place. That's why they said, no, we do have humility and fear of sin. We're here, meaning that Hashem gave us a greater light, and that's why this it's still possible for us to have this humility of year of sin. And through their humility and fear of sin, we're able to nullify the darkness of Geulah and bring the Geulah. As it says in that same sugya, that humility and fear of sin brings to the resurrection of the dead. So maybe it ended, like their light couldn't go further, right, to light up a darker place, and they thought that that's it, it's over. But then Hashem revealed a greater light, which could bring back the humility and the fear of sin to even a darker place. Okay, and similarly, we have another explanation on the words of Chazal in the explanation of the dream of the, what is it called? The what?
The butler.
The butler, right?
Sara of Pare.
He saw three grapevines.
He saw a grapevine with 3 clusters.
With 3 clusters on the grapevine. Shechazal mevarim al zeh shegefen elu Yisrael. That our Chachamim explain that the grape is referring to the Yidden. Vatana mefarshim prate achalem al malaseim shel Yisrael. And the Tanaim explain that the details of the dream are speaking about the greatness of the Yidden. Ha'aves v'imais, Moshe v'Aaron, Yerushalayim v'Beis Hamikdash chulu. So what are these 3 clusters? The first one is the Aves and Imais, the second is Moshe and Aaron, and the third is Yerushalayim and the Beis Hamikdash. Ad sheba ha'amayra Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba v'darash hazachalem al galas Mitzrayim v'Geulah mimena. Gefen Eli Yisrael, Higia Zman Isha Yisrael Yigael, Higia Zman Isha Mitzrayim Lishtais Kais Hasra'ala. But later, so that was what the Tanaim explained about this dream. But the Amira, Reb Yirmiyah, explained this dream to be referring to the Galus of Mitzrayim and the Geulah from her. So the grapes are the Yidden, and it's time for the Yidden to be redeemed. That the Mitzrayim should drink the cup of poison, or what does that mean?
Yeah.
So Umavara Rebbe Eitzel Tanaim Lahaisa Chashchas Hagalas B'Taikef Lachain Darshu Tanaim B'Ikar B'Amlasin Shal Yisrael B'Yasem Matzav Shal Ar V'Geulah. So the Rebbe explains that by the Tanaim, because the Galus wasn't so strong, they explain this dream to show on the greatness of the Yidden. When they're in a situation, when they're in a level of light and Geulah. But because in the time of the Meiraim, the Galus was darker, it was like the time of Galus.
That was really the beginning of darkness, right? Because that was really after the destruction of the second Beis Hamikdash.
Therefore, Rabbi Yirmiyah explains these grapes to be a mashal for Galus and Geulah of Mitzrayim. And specifically, through his explanation, the elevation which comes as a result of the Yerida from Galus is emphasized. So, v'lefizem avar Rebbe's hemshach haGemara. Amar le Reb Yirma bar Abba, ki derish lehu Rav Laha ne kare bagdasa, kavsach derish lehu. So according to this, the Rebbe explains the continuation of the Gemara. The Reb Abba said to Reb Yirmiyah bar Abba, which is, I guess, his son, right?
Mm.
Okay, you want to explain that?
I actually don't know completely.
Okay, so let's see if we can get the context. Kevin Sharav Haya Bidar Hamechaber Ben Atanaim Ben Amiraim. Shemitzad Echad Nemar Lav Rav Tana Hu Ufalik. Mitzad Shenu Hu Yared Lebavel Vehepet Sham Tyra. V'lechein kar etzlei Haya Nirgash Ein Agalas V'aliyah Shal Yada. V'lechein Gam Hu Haya Derish Haksuvim K'may Talmidai Rabbi Yirmiyah. So we have like a father and son. Apparently that the father explains it like he's on the
not father and son. Rav Abba Rav Abba Kadesh Lahun Rav Lahani Kari Bagadata. So what Rav was a drush, then he made it like he's comparing what he's saying to what Rav said. Since Rav was in the door of the Tanaim, right?
between
Rav,
the Tanaim and Amoraim.
Rav, yeah, he was a dar mechaber between Tanaim and Amoraim. And that's why he says Rav Tanahu Upalik. That Rav is a Tanahu, and therefore you can't argue with him, right? On the other hand, who yard the bubble behavior from Torah. He went to Babel and he spread Torah there, right? So therefore, Rav was like in between. Like you say, one hand he was like a Tana, you can't argue with him. On the other hand, he went to Babel, and therefore, even in there, he felt the union of Gullus and the aliyah that will come through it. And that's why and that's why Rav was also discussed this like his student Rabbi Yirmiyah. That's what he said. Yeah, that you're making a drush like this is what Rav said, right? And that's what we can see. Why? Because Rav, even though he was his teacher, he was also between those two generations, and therefore he was also being dirish this idea just like his student Rabbi Yirmiyah.
So I guess we'll finish with this paragraph. Right, sorry. So your Yirmiyah, the one who said this, he's a Tana, but he was also, because he went down to Gullus, he was able to
Rav was like that. Yes.
Okay. Ulefize mevar es dia kalashen kifsach dirish lehu shimalashen zu mashma Rabbi Yirmiyah hu bal hadrasha ha'ikri v'rav ketafalei. So according to this, we can explain why it says, like
it makes it sound Rabbi Yirmiyah was the Bal Hadrasha, that he was the main person who said this, and Rav was secretary to him, even though
after Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba haya talmidei shel Rav. So even though he was the student, v'lechayer haya matzim yisrael tzalaises divrei Talmud b'divrei Rav, v'lemisher Rabbi Yirmiyah kevel nedas Rabbi. So usually we would give the credit to the teacher because the student learns from the teacher. But here, move on shachin v'darshazu yer b'yirmiyah nechshav lebala shmua ikari. Kevan shederach limadzu hadgashas inyan hagalas v'Geulah sheches yes leRabbi Yirmiyah shehu amara shahaya amara mamish v'achidashu shagam itzlarak for haisas chalash l'derach limad kazu. So why is this attributed, this teaching, to Rabbi Yirmiyah, to the student? Because he's the one who felt this idea of Gullus and Geulah. And the chiddush is that his teacher was also able to sense this teaching. But the student was the one who felt it more because he's the one that actually went down to Gullus.
Right. Well, it was more. It was a later generation. That's why we come back to this original thing here. Rabbi Abba says, Rabbi Abba, this thing that you said, that Rav said, he had the same intention that you did, but it's saying like he thought of like what you thought, right? Which is saying it's really, that's what we're saying. The Iker Baladrasha is like Rabbi Yirmiyah. It's like his saying, and his Rebbe Rav also thought a similar thing, right? Instead of the other way around, because he was, again, lower generation, but really he felt it more.
All right. So this is also a very encouraging concept because whatever it is, when we talk about Yerida Sadaris, or we talk about now post Gimel Tammuz, and anything, whenever it could feel like very scary, depressing, or just, and whatever the challenges are, now there's so many challenges that we didn't have when we were younger, but there's always the Zelumazeh, there's always the power and the light to match up with whatever is needed. So there's never a reason to be afraid, or and we should already merit the Geulah now.
I think it's also that when we
Lipa and Sara and Bracha, we should meet up and
Bracha's just asking for a recap because she goes like, so Bracha, the recap was that last week we spoke about Yerida Sadaris and how all the generations, when we talk about how Torah was revealed, we started with Matan Torah, and then the generations got lower. We had, Torah, the Chumash, then we needed the Mishnah, we needed the oral Torah to be written down, and then we needed the Gemara, and then we needed the Brisa, and then we needed Shulchan Aruch. So the idea really is the idea of Yerida Sadaris, that the Torah kept being revealed more and more, the lower Bnei Israel got. And even when we come to Chassidus, the explanation that Bnei Israel are so sick, and we take the crown from the king's jewel and we crush it to make it accessible so that the dying child, the dying prince can live, right? So that shows that we're in a more and more dire situation, and therefore we need more and more revelations in Torah. Tonight, we looked at the flip side of that and saying there's another way to look at it, and that is that in every single generation, we're getting closer and closer to Mashiach, and therefore there are more and more revelations that show us that we are more in tune with Mashiach. And we gave a number of examples of that, starting off with the ideas that we find, like in the Rambam brings us from Chumash itself, only 3 examples about Yemaisa Mashiach, 3 pieces of proof, so to speak, and then says, but in Divrei Nevi'im, the books are full of that. And then, and the very only in the very last halacha does he even hint to the idea of Tchias HaMesim. The Rambam also in his Igeres Tchias HaMesim explains that we find no mention of Tchias HaMesim at all in the Torah, only kind of a hint in Nevi'im, but we find it explicitly in Daniel in the Ksuvim. So again, and the Rambam explains that because in the earlier generations, because we weren't ready to have such revelations, but as the generations went by and Bnei Israel were stronger in their emunah and their belief in Nevi'im, they could handle the whole concept of Tchias HaMesim. So we've been going to show how in every single how it's like that the Torah says certain things, Nevi'im illuminate more of what's in the Torah, the Ksuvim do even more so, and that's what we saw here, even in terms of between the Mishnah and the Gemara, that the Gemara illuminates even more than the Mishnah does. So there's a special light that comes down. Gave another example with the Haftarahs. So we on the Chitzanistic level, you could say the reason we read Haftarahs today is because the Goyim said we can't read from the Torah, therefore we read from Navi, from the Haftarah. However, the Rebbe explains you can't chas v'shalom to say that the Goyim have any rule over us and that they stop us from learning Torah. Rather, there's a hidden meaning behind that, and that is that the Divrei Nevi'im, the Haftarahs that we read, often show us what is actually hidden in the parsha itself. And we find the Rebbe often explains the Haftarahs and shows us how there's a hint in the Haftarah to Mashiach and Geulah, and it's relevant to the Chumash, but it's not in the Chumash itself. We see it more in the Torah itself, in the Haftarahs itself, and as we see explained by the Alter Rebbe in Likutei Torah and Torah. So really that was the focus of tonight, is this idea that on one hand, yes, we could say that Yerida Sadaris, but on the other hand, we can say also we're getting closer to Mashiach, and therefore there is a higher light that is being revealed in the world to help us in this chayshach kafel muchupal, that is a higher level of light that allows us to be more in tune with Mashiach and Shel Mashiach. And next week,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm not home. I'm away. And my husband just came home and I forgot the time when he just came home. So I needed to deal with him.